Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to a preview of this game right here. This is Portals. It is published by Crowd Games, and it is designed by Maxim Istomin, I believe, or Istomin. But this is actually a game that is going straight to retail, and it is going to be available at Essen as well, so definitely go and check that out. I will have all the links down below to any information that you guys need about the game. I will also put the Crowd Games booth here, so you guys know if you are going to Essen where to pick it up. But yes, Portals is absolutely gorgeous, as you can tell by the cover. I think this is probably one of my favorite covers I've ever seen on a game. There's just something about this art that just makes me so incredibly happy. It's probably the colors. The colors are beautiful. The, I don't know, the placement of the guy standing there in front of the portal, I think is absolutely fantastic. In Portals, you are going to be time travelers working to find Dominic Day, which he actually started to make these portals and discover these different portals using elemental energy, and one day he actually just never came back. He disappeared. So you are going to be time travelers creating portals with the same elemental magic in order to try to find Dominic Day. And it is an abstract game, so the theme is there, but you're definitely doing something very abstract. It is very puzzly, so if puzzly games are something that you enjoy, definitely recommend checking out Portals. It plays 1 to 4 players, which exciting. It has a solo mode. But yes, I'm going to quickly get into all of the components on the table, a little bit of quick aim of the game, what you're doing, and then we'll get into how Portals plays. So if you guys want to see that, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit the subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Huge thank you to Crowd or Crowd Games for sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate it. But yes, that is everything for the intro, so let's get into this video, shall we? Alright, so to start off the video, like I said, I'm going to go into a little bit of an aim of the game. Basically, you are trying to be the player or the time traveler with the most victory points. Victory points are going to be represented by these little tokens that are going to be different amounts of victory points. Basically, as you're playing the game, you're going to be accumulating these and you're going to count them up at the end of the game. You will keep them hidden from the other players, and then at the end of the game, whatever ones you have collected, which you're not like randomly taking a token, I will say that, you are getting the correct amount of victory points, placing it in front of you face down so that the players can't count up how many victory points that you currently have, but at any time you can look at your own victory points. But at the end of the game, everyone's going to count up their victory points, and then whoever has the most is the winner, the best time traveler. But in the game, you're going to be collecting these key cards, and then you're going to be drafting these elemental tokens, which there are 5 different ones. There is the white tiles or tokens. Those are air. You have green, which is earth, orange, which is fire, blue is water, and purple is time. So those are the different elements that you're going to be working with and drafting and then placing them onto your key cards. Each of the key cards is going to have a certain placement of where you need to put these different elemental tokens. And then once you have charged a key card, so that means placing tokens on the spots that you need tokens, you can actually place this onto the main boards, which the fun thing about this is that you're going to be sharing a board with the person on your left and the person on your right. So if you're playing a 4-player game, there's going to be some other boards that you do not have access to. You only have access to the 2 elemental boards that are to your left and your right, and you are going to be able to place this arrangement of elemental tokens onto the board whatever way you want. So for example, if I actually placed, let's say, a green and a purple here. Don't know if you guys can see that, but I have a green and a purple on this card. And then when I was to place this on the board, I actually have to keep them in this arrangement and then try to figure out where I can place this onto here. So I could actually turn this like this, and I could place the green here and the purple here, which you can actually place things onto the elemental board that don't match the correct element, but you won't gain victory points for them. So you are trying to look at this elemental board, see where the different elements are, and kind of see how you can draft and place the elements onto these key cards, so then you can place them onto the elemental board and get the most victory points that you possibly can, because you're going to be gaining victory points for matching tokens. You're also going to be gaining victory points for placing down tokens that have other tokens around them that are the same color. So color adjacency as well as color matching are going to be the two ways that you can get maximum amount of victory points. So that is going to the base game. There's also numbers on each of the key cards, which kind of represents the order that you're going to be able to place them down. So if you have a charged key card and another player does, you're going to look at the numbers on your cards, and then that's going to be the order that you're going to be able to place, because it's very important to go first in player order, because you do want to try to get your key card placed down on the elemental board before others, because they might actually cover up the different elements on the elemental board that you want to place. So yes, that's kind of an overview of how the game plays. I'm going to get into more specifics as we get into how to play, but for components, we have the elemental boards here like I was talking about. You have the different types of key cards in the middle here. You have the orange key cards, the red key cards, as well as the purple. Orange only has 2 spots for elemental tokens, red has 3, and purple has 4. So you're kind of, the difficulty of each of the cards is going up for each of them. You also have the drafting areas here, which each player does have a certain amount of tokens that they can draft from that specific place. Whenever you draft a token, you do have to place your own little gem on there to represent that you took 1 token from there. Once you have taken 3 tokens from a specific drafting area, you can no longer take from that area. So you couldn't actually draft all 6 of your tokens from one area. You kind of have to disperse in the areas. So those are those. You also have the bag of all of the tokens here, which I don't know if anyone has eaten. They have these candies. They're like Airhead, like Chewies. And they kind of remind me of those. So I am kind of tempted to eat these tokens, but obviously we will not do that. We also have some additional player pieces over here for a 3 or 4 player game. Each player does have their own color. We have some more of these drafting areas, obviously for higher player counts. We have a few different modules that you can add on. We have the secret signs module as well as the magic spells module. So I will get into those when we get into the how to play. We have all of the different victory point tokens here. Like I said, we have some additional elemental boards here. And then that is all of the, or those are all of the components. So with that being said, let's get into exactly how Portals plays. So getting into how Portals plays, Portals is played over 4 rounds, and each round is going to have 3 different phases. So the first phase is going to be collecting key cards as well as elemental stones. The second phase is going to be placing out key cards, if you can do so. Charged key cards, they like to call them. And then the last phase is just going to be a cleanup phase. You will do that 4 times, and then at the end, players, like I said, are going to count up all of their victory points, and then whoever has the most is the winner. So the first phase, like I said, is collecting or drafting your key cards, as well as your elemental stones. So when you first start off the game, you do not have any key cards. So the first thing that you're going to do is draft one of the key cards. Like I said, the orange are the ones with the least amount of stones, so you can get them out sooner, but the numbers are higher. You have your second kind of difficulty here with 3 stones needed for the red cards, and then you have the purple cards that 4 elemental stones are needed. So you will draft one of these. Let's say take this one here. This is going to need 2 on the opposite sides. I would place that in front of me, and a new key card would be flipped. That would be the first little section of my turn. And then second thing that you must do on your turn, I will say, if you have 1 to 3 key cards in front of you, you don't actually have to take an additional card. It is always just like a thing that you are able to do, but you don't have to do. But the second part of your turn, which is drafting an elemental stone, is a must. So you have to do this, and you have to have at least one empty space in any of your key cards in front of you in order to do that. So that is when you would need to draft a key card. But for my second phase, I would decide maybe, let me go over to this circle over here. I can see that there's only one green stone over here, so I might strategically get the green off of here. Whenever you draft a elemental stone, you do have to place one of your gems on there to represent that you have taken or drafted one elemental stone from this area here. And then I would place this onto one of my key cards, and then that would be at the end of my turn. Play would continue clockwise. It would be back to my turn. I could optionally, if I want, get another key card, which I might want to do. Let me say I take this one here. I would draft that into my tableau of key cards. You can only have a maximum of 4 key cards in front of you. And then again, I would draft another tile. I might take this one over here, this purple time token, and I would place that there. And I would then have one fully charged key card in front of me. So I could actually, on the next phase, which we'll get into, I could actually place this one out onto one of the 2 elemental boards on either side of me. This would then continue until all players had drafted 6 elemental stones and had placed them on their available key cards. Then we would move into the next phase, which is placing the charged key cards that you have available. If you have key cards in front of you that do not have all of their tokens on them. So for example, this one here, if I didn't have any of my tokens on this card, I wouldn't be able to obviously place because this key card is considered uncharged, but you would be able to keep it here until your next round. And then eventually, once you filled up this key card and it was charged, then you would be able to, on that round's second phase, you'd be able to place it onto the elemental boards here. But I would be able to then place this one here. Like I said in the overview of the game as well, there's going to be a number on each of the cards, and that's going to determine how early you are going to be able to place this key card. So on this phase, every player that has a charged key card is going to be able to place, but you're going to be placing them in ascending order. So whatever player's charged key card has the lowest number is going to be able to place first. They would place, oopsie, I am destroying my key card. They would place their key card elemental stones onto one of the elemental boards. And then once it got to your turn, you would be able to look at here and you would be able to move around and try to decide where you'd want to place your stones. You would be able to place them down, and then this key card here would be discarded. And then you would get your victory points for your placement. So if there was any other stones down here and I placed adjacently to any of the same color, so for example, here there's a purple spot. If there was a purple here, which adjacently can be orthogonally or diagonally. So if there was a purple here diagonal to this purple, I would gain 1 victory point for that. If there was a green here, I would gain 1 for that as well. If there's any orthogonally as well, you would gain victory points for those. Obviously, this would come more in future rounds when there was already some tokens on the board. But you also gain victory points based off of the matching colors. So if I actually placed down one of the 4 and all 4 of them were matching, that is the max amount that you can get. There's a little grid or chart in the rule book that tells you how many victory points you've got based off of how many are matching. So for 1 matching, if you did 1 matching, you gain 1 victory point. For 2 matching, which is in this situation here, I would gain 2 victory points. If you had 3 matching, you would get 4 victory points. And if you had all 4 matching, you would get 6 victory points. So there's a little bit of a chart, like I said, in the rule book. But that would be the placement round after every player had placed all of their elemental tokens from their charged key cards. That phase would be finished and we move on to the cleanup phase. The cleanup phase is very simple. You would just take off all of the gems from each of the drafting areas and place it beside. The next player would get the bag, so you would move the bag to the next player in clockwise order. They would then be the first player for that round. They would take elemental tokens out of the bag and put them onto the drafting areas. The next 3 rounds would play out the same way. Players would draft their key cards, they would draft their elemental tokens onto their key cards. They would then, in ascending order, place any of their charged key cards and then do a little bit of a cleanup phase. That would continue for the 4 rounds, and then at the end of the game, all players would count up all of their victory points, and then whoever had the most would be the winners. So that is everything for the how to play of Portals. Like I said, there are 2 additional modules as well as a solo mode, so let's quickly get into those. All right, so quickly getting into the different modules. Like I said, there is a solo mode, which I will get to, but there are 2 additional modules that you can play with. The first one is going to be the Magic Spells module, which has this board here, and this is pretty simple. All you would do is, instead on your turn, drafting one of these tiles and placing it on your key card, you can actually decide to draft one of them onto the magic spell board. And once a tile has been placed on one of the 4 actions, you would do that action, but going forward, this is the only color that could be placed on this action. So going forward, whoever wanted to play this action must draft a earth elemental token and place it here. Then that would go for the other 3 actions as well. And they're just additional actions that you can do on your turn that would allow you to kind of mitigate different things, allow you to swap things, different things like that. So that is the Magic Spell module. And then the second module is the Secret Signs. So at the beginning of the game, each player would get dealt 3 different Secret Signs cards, and these would be secret to the player. They would not show anybody. And you can actually decide to keep 1 to 3 of these cards. And basically what they are is different layouts of different elemental tokens on an elemental board. And once, anytime during the game, you see this specific pattern on one of the elemental boards, you can actually say, I have one of my secret signs, I can put this down, you would gain 4 victory points, and then you would discard it. So it's kind of just like keeping an eye on the elemental boards and, you know, maybe going for this and gaining those victory points. If you did decide to keep all 3 and maybe 2 of them you weren't able to get before the end of the game, each of these cards is going to be worth -2 points. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of the route cards in Ticket to Ride, where the more that you keep, the bigger risk you have, but you will possibly be able to get all 3 of them and gain 12 victory points for those. So depending on how many you do keep, that would be some additional victory points for you at the end of the game. And lastly, we do have a solo mode for Portals. It is more of just like a puzzle mode, and the cool thing is that you're going to be using one of the boards to be placing out your key cards and getting victory points in different ways, but you also have another board that is going to track the rounds. So each time you are drafting, you're actually drafting from the board that has 1 on each of the squares. So you're going to have 25 rounds to kind of get the most victory points that you possibly can get. There's going to be a chart in the rule book that's going to have a little bit of if you end up with this, this is how good you did. And when you're drafting, you're not drafting from pools like this. You're just going to be drafting from top left-hand corner, going left to right, top to bottom. You're going to be drafting that, placing it on one of your key cards. It's going to play similarly to the multiplayer, where you're going to draft key cards. You're going to have 4 spaces for key cards in front of you. You're going to simply just be drafting from one of the 25 squares, obviously going in order, placing them on here, and then in the next phase, you're going to be placing them onto the elemental board, trying to get as many victory points as possible. Additionally, you do have access to the Magic Spells board for the solo mode, and you also do have always 4 of these secret sign cards face up in front of you. So additionally, for more victory points, you can try to go for these secret signs. So you have access to all of these different modules in the solo mode, which I think is very smart and just makes for a more robust solo mode and just a really puzzly, fun puzzle that you can play by yourself. So that is everything for the solo mode of Portals, and that is everything for the video. All right, friends, so that is going to be everything for the preview of Portals by Crowd Games. Huge thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. If you guys are interested in Portals, like I said, they will have it available at Essen to purchase. Additionally, it will be available online and at your friendly local game stores. So if you are interested, definitely go and check it out. But yeah, that is everything for today's preview. If you guys enjoyed, please give it a big thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. I love you guys so, so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.